Good evening, gamers. So I made very little reviews this summer. Yeah, sure, I made a lot of videos, but most of them were more video essays than actual reviews or critiques. I didn't want to do a lot of reviews, because I wanted to review everything I watched this summer in one big video. So that's exactly what I'm doing right now. This video is not going to include stuff I already made videos on, like Obi-Wan Kenobi, because, well, I already reviewed it. Go check out that video if you haven't already. I will also be keeping most of my reviews in this video very short, because we have a lot of shit to get through. I tried to make this video as interesting and diverse as possible by watching as much shit as I possibly could. If you want to skip to a certain section, then that's possible. There are timestamps in the description. And if you want me to take a look at something the next time I do a video like this, then make sure to comment it down below. So with that all out of the way, let's dive right in. The first thing I watched this summer was Breaking Bad, and I thought it was really good. Me and one of my friends watched it at the same time, and we loved talking about it every time we saw each other. He spammed me on Discord while he was watching Ozymandias, because it was that intense. And I did the same thing to him when I watched it. That's a good way to describe the show as a whole. Intense. Breaking Bad has 5 seasons, so we have a lot to talk about. Let's start with Season 1. Season 1 was pretty good, I guess. I don't know, man, everyone told me Breaking Bad was like the greatest show of all time, so I was really disappointed when the season ended. Don't get me wrong, it's good, but it's nothing compared to things like Season 3 and 5. I'll start off with my positives. I think the best part of Season 1 is definitely Walter White. I think he's a great way to show how the med business works, because at the start of the show, he knows as little about it as we do. He's also a perfectly written character. Yeah, I know, that's not really a surprise to a lot of people, because he's considered one of the best written characters ever. But I think Season 1 is one of his strongest seasons, in terms of writing. I absolutely adore the notebook scene. It's the first time we see him not knowing what to do. He always had a plan ready. He found a solution to every problem. But there is no solution to this problem. It's really interesting to see how hard it is for Walter to kill Crazy 8, because we know that he becomes a monster at the end. And the contrast between Walter not wanting to kill a man until he has to do it to survive, and Walter killing a bunch of people for no fucking reason, is really well done. The direction and cinematography is also pretty much perfect from the get-go. Vince and his team are masters at telling a story using camera angles and colors. Jesse and Hank were fine, they get much more attention in later seasons. And it really works, because they get more fleshed out as the show goes on. But they're just kinda there this season. My biggest problem with Season 1 is Skylar. She and Walter Jr. are supposed to represent the life that Walter is slowly pushing away in favor of the med business. But I think the show does a really poor job at making us care about that life. Walter doesn't give a shit, so why should we? I think Skylar looking for the truth about Walter's med business is the weakest part of the show, because we don't care about Skylar in the first place. I think scenes like this one...
What are you doing?
Yeah, I need the police. My dad, he put a knife on my mom, he attacked her.
would have worked even better if we cared about Walt's family from the start. So I'm giving Breaking Bad Season 1 a 7 out of 10. So Season 2 is very different from Season 1. It focuses much more on individual episodes instead of an overarching story. There is still one, it's just not as important as it was in Season 1. I think that's mainly because Season 2 is much longer than Season 1, so some episodes are just straight up filler. I think that's Season 2's main problem. It does a pretty poor job balancing the main plot and the filler episodes. I really enjoyed some of the filler episodes. Peekaboo and especially 4 Days Out are phenomenal character studies. I just think they were connected very poorly to Season 2's main plot. I also think the writers kinda wrote themselves in a hole by killing off Tuco, the fucking villain of the first season, in the first episodes. This season has no antagonist, but I think the biggest problem I had with Season 2 was the fact that they gave the Skylar side plot like 5 times the amount of screen time than it had in the previous season. But I still really liked the season. Hank and especially Jesse get a lot of development this season, and the writing is still on point. This season also has 4 Days Out, which is like one of the best character studies I've ever seen. The metaphors and wordless storytelling in general has also improved immensely if you compare it to Season 1. So this season has way higher highs than Season 1, but also way lower lows. 7 out of 10. Okay, let's talk about the masterpieces now. Oh my god, Season 3 is nearly perfect. It's a masterpiece. My only problem with this, I wrote movie in the script, it was meant to be season, is that it still has Skylar figuring out what Walter's up to side plot. But it ends this season, so that's good. Okay, time for the good stuff. I think it was around when Walt was giving the speech about the plane that I realized that this season was going to be better than the previous two combined. And it was. First of all, new characters like Gus and Mike get fleshed out, and I think they do a great job at it. Walter, Jesse, and Hank also get better and better as the season goes on. But I think the thing that surprised me the most was how much better Skylar gets this season. It's clear that the show wants you to hate her, but that doesn't stop the writers from making her a very deep character. She also gets things to do this season. In the first 2 seasons, the only thing she really did was telling Walt that he's sus. But now she actually does stuff to show Walt and the audience how she feels. But the best thing by far this season is the direction. Vince and his team clearly put a shit ton of work into making sure that they told the story through colors, lighting and cinematography. TV is a visual medium after all. There is so much wordless storytelling here, it's incredible. Every shot has something to say. Every frame means something. And every expression matters. This is also a good time to talk about the performances. Everyone is doing a great job, but Aaron Paul steals the show for me. He just disappears into the role, and his portrayal of Jesse Pinkman might be my favorite performance of all time. This man never took acting classes and he won 3 Emmys. If that's not inspiring, I don't know what is. 9.5 out of 10. Really, really good. Season 4 is also really, really good. I think the first few episodes are a bit slow, and it's a bit lame that Walt doesn't really get punished for what he did. His actions should have had more consequences than just not seeing the maniac you work for ever again. I would be happy if I worked for Gus and I'm told that I'm never going to see him again. But this season is still really, really good. Walt and Gus's rivalry is incredible, because they are perfect foils to each other, while they both want to be each other. Jesse also has a very interesting role this season. I still need some time to think about what the parties meant for him as a character, but I was really intrigued, because the show does an amazing job at making you feel bad for Jesse. And the final 2 episodes were just, oh my god. That and Skylar's side plot worked really well, because of the powerful conclusion. Walter just lying down on the ground, laughing at the fact that he's probably gonna die, after Skylar said that she gave all the money to Ted, is one of the best scenes of the entire show, because we get to see how vulnerable Walt actually is. This is the first time Walter's ego isn't in charge, and it's painful to watch him just lie there, while he admits to himself that he has lost. And the gun metaphor, oh my god, the gun metaphor. It's my favorite metaphor of the entire show, and for good reason. Perfectly fits in with the main theme of the show, and it's used in so many unique ways. Season 5 uses this metaphor in a very cool way, but Season 4 does it even better. 9 out of 10. Still really good. We've reached Season 5, the final season of the show. I only have one issue with the season, and that is the flash forwards. The flash forwards take away all of the tension, because we know Walt's gonna be fine. The show tries to fix this by making sure that none of the other characters appear in the flash forwards, so that the tension is not completely gone, because you don't know if they will be fine or not. So it's not that big of a deal, but that's still a flaw. The season is easily the best of the show. The writing is just incredible. Walter is one of the best written characters I have ever seen, because of how well his character complements the theme of the show. But it's not just the characters. Every part of the season works together to give us an answer to the complex questions the show asks. The season perfectly does what it sets out to do. But it's not just the overarching story, themes, and characters that are amazing. The season also has some really strong individual episodes, I was convinced that Face Off was the best episode of the show after I finished season 4. But season 5 was like, well, we have like 3 episodes better than Face Off. Confessions, Ozymandias, and Felina are incredible episodes. Confessions did a great job with Jesse's character, and it perfectly set up the rest of the season. Ozymandias is probably the best directed episode of television ever. Wow, Rian Johnson makes some really cool stuff, huh? Oh fuck, never mind. And then we have Felina. It's easily my favorite episode of the show. Vince's directing is incredible. The cinematography in particular, it's just amazing. The editing is really good and the performances are amazing, like always. This episode also has my favorite wordless storytelling. It doesn't have as much as Ozymandias, but it's so well done that you could probably enjoy this episode without sound, because Vince doesn't need words to tell a story. Wow, what a season. 9.5 out of 10. Fucking incredible. I think I'm gonna give Breaking Bad as a whole an 8.5. It's a really good show. I also watched Arcane 4 times this summer, but I'm already working on something to show my love for it, so I'm not really gonna review it here, but I'll just say 9.5 out of 10. Best show ever made. Wow, I've been really positive so far. Let's change that. I'm just gonna say it. Thor Love and Thunder is the worst MCU film since Eternals. I wasn't expecting it to be bad at all, because it's made by Taika Waititi, the guy behind great films like Jojo Rabbit, but the movie was really bad. So, the movie starts off with Thor leaving the Guardians. The Guardians have like 5 minutes of screen time, and I think Quill was the only one of the Guardians who got more than one line, which is just sad. So Thor goes to Lady Sif, because she wanted him to come to her, and after that we find out that she's gonna die. Then Thor makes a joke about it, so the scene loses all of its emotional value. This is one of those movies that pretends to be self-aware when it actually isn't. The movie made a joke about how Thor's friends have really bad death scenes without any emotional impact, but now, like 10 minutes after they make that joke, they give one of Thor's friends a really bad death scene without any emotional impact. The movie makes fun of badly used tropes, but then it uses those same tropes in the exact same way. So anyway, Thor goes to Earth, where he discovers that Jane is the new Thor. But uh-oh! Thor the God Butcher, played by Christian Bale, steals kids from Asgard. I think this might be Christian Bale's best performance ever. I genuinely forgot that I was watching Christian Bale. I just saw Gore, but his character is very underused, so that doesn't really matter. But anyway, one of the kids can communicate with Thor and his gang through terrible CGI, and he tells a horrible joke. This movie has way too many jokes. You can't take anything serious in this movie, because every scene has at least 3 jokes. Gore is the best character in the movie, because he doesn't make stupid jokes. So anyway, Thor immediately knows where the kids are trapped, because the script wants him to. But Thor wants to go to Zeus's home, because he wants to assemble a team of gods. But then he just kills the only person that can give him that team. Oh, never mind, he survives because the script wants him to. Oh no, Kork is dead! Oh, never mind, he survives because the script wants him to. Yeah, this movie has 2 fake out deaths in 1 minute. But anyway, Thor's gang finds out that Gore wants to get to the center of the universe, because the first person who gets there gets a wish, which is just so stupid. They could literally go there right now and wish Gore away. They have Stormbreaker, it wouldn't be a problem. But they don't do that because the script doesn't want them to. So anyway, Gore tells the kids that they are just bait and that it's a trap. But the floating head kid doesn't tell this to Thor for some reason. Why wouldn't he do that? Oh, I know. It's because the script doesn't want him to. Anyway, Gore captures them and he goes to the center of the universe or whatever. But the gang convinces him that he should just use his wish to bring his daughter back, which goes against everything we know about him. Gore wanted to kill all the gods because they were not doing what they were meant to do. I think the movie actually does a pretty okay job showing us that maybe Gore isn't wrong, and it's actually a pretty compelling idea. But that's all thrown out the window, because Gore doesn't give a shit about punishing gods anymore. No, he just uses his wish to revive his daughter, so the compelling theme is gone. Oh yeah, Jane also dies. Well done, movie, you subverted my expectations. Yay! 3 out of 10, I'm so done with the MCU. I also watched Tick Tick Boom for the millionth time. I'm addicted to this movie, I really am. I must have seen it at least 10 times by now. Why? Because it's my favorite live action movie of all time. I adore almost every single aspect of this movie. Jonathan's arc about youth is executed in a nearly perfect way, because it feels really believable and because of the wordless storytelling. The pool scene is incredible, just like the therapy scene. They are really amazing scenes because they tell John's story with wordless storytelling, as well as with words. The pool scene just screams wordless storytelling, and the therapy is also wonderful, because the things John and Susan say to each other are easy to understand, but really hard to listen to. Both Andrew Garfield and Alexandra Shipp do an amazing job. It feels like they were made for their characters. I also love the music and how it's incorporated into the story. I usually don't like musicals because every time a character starts singing, it feels so random and unnatural that I realize, oh, right, I was just watching a movie. Tick Tick Boom doesn't have this problem because the songs are part of the story. John is performing a musical, so it makes sense that there are songs in the movie. The commentary and messages about the entertainment industry are also executed so well. The start and next one scene hurts a lot, because it was so well built up. I Could Get Used to You was a pretty mediocre song, but the visuals were amazing because it used black and white in a really cool way. I also think the pacing is really bad, but overall, this movie is fucking great. 8.5 out of 10. Ratatouille is the only Pixar film I rewatched, and it's still great. Ratatouille is, in my opinion, the second best Pixar movie, and yeah, it's really good. The thing that always surprises me when I rewatch Ratatouille is how mature it is. I'm not really a fan of Brad Bird's Pixar films, but I can't deny that every one of them feels really mature. Ratatouille is a movie about alcohol abuse, the role of a woman in our society, the fact that every piece of art is worth 1 million times more than a criticism, and how ego affects us as human beings. It's incredible how much mature themes this movie tries to show us, and it doesn't just pay lip service to them. The themes are a part of the characters and the plot of this movie. And can we just talk about those characters because man, they are good. Linguini is funny, but he also has a great arc that feels completely natural for his character. Colette is a great love interest, who also brings a lot of interesting themes to the table. Her arc of rediscovering what Cousteau stands for is simple, but great. And then we have Remy. And holy guacamole, he's one of the best Pixar protagonists by far. His writing is perfect. There is not a single thing that I would change about his character and his journey. The fact that he sees Cousteau as this sort of ghost helps drive home the idea that Remy idolizes him for so long. And his trust in humans is shown perfectly in the scenes like the dead rat scene. This movie also does something very interesting and unique with its status quo. Normally, a character wants to change the status quo. That's how conflict works. Quick example. Thanos doesn't like the universe, so he wants to change the status quo to make half of the universe die. There is no conflict without characters wanting the status quo to change. Ratatouille turns this rule around by giving Remy what he's always dreamed of. He gets to cook in a gourmet kitchen. He's living in the perfect status quo, and he doesn't want that to change. But how does the movie have conflict without Remy wanting the status quo to change? Well, the conflict in this movie comes from Remy trying to keep the status quo the same, while other characters like Skinner wanted to change. Oh yeah, Skinner is this movie's one weak point, he sucks. The movie refuses to remove him from the plot, while he doesn't add anything for the last 20 minutes of it. And this movie also has a lot of side plots, but at the end of the day, who cares man? This movie is really great. 9 out of 10. Minions: The Rise of Gru is god awful. It's so bad, oh my god. I'll start off with my positives. This movie actually feels like a prequel to the Despicable Me franchise. It actually gives Gru more screen time than 1 second. Okay, that's all the nice things I have to say about it. This movie sucks. The minions are even more underdeveloped than in the last one. At least they had personalities in this one. I can't stand that these yellow abominations are relevant to the plot. And holy shit, they are so fucking unfunny. The score is literally the exact same as in the first Minions. I don't think I heard a single new note. I wouldn't be surprised if they just copy-pasted the score of the previous one onto this one. And the writing, oh my god, I just want to die. The villains are dogshit, and the movie just invents underdeveloped superpowers for them. And then, when the minions are cornered, I was happy, because I wanted them to die. But no, the writers just invent superpowers for them. And don't you dare telling me that it was set up. This is not set up. 2 out of 10, I wanna die. Guys, I think I found the best live action movie ever. Oh, never mind. No, but all joking aside, The Lighthouse is incredible. I've already talked about it in my Whiplash video, so I'll keep it short. The Lighthouse is a brilliant piece of art that you can interpret in an infinite amount of ways. It's a retelling of an ancient Greek myth. It's a character study of morally grey people. It's an examination of a man going insane. It's a buddy film about bros getting drunk together. It's incredible. The slow pacing makes it clear how hard it must be to be stuck on this island. The editing and cinematography sell everything, and you never know what's real. And the performances, dear god. This movie proved to me that Willem Dafoe is a god. I still have the same problems I had with it in my Whiplash review. The score is weird, and the bird dying never feels like a big deal, but it's still incredible. 9.5 out of 10. Chip and Dale the Rescue Rangers is not good. It's really not. The best part of this movie is the insane amount of franchises and characters that pop up. Fucking ugly Sonic is in this movie. Can you believe that? I also thought the villain was fine and kinda creative. But those are all the nice things I have to say about this movie. The characters are constantly making fun of certain animation styles while having a terrible animation style themselves. I truly hate these fake self-aware movies. One of the characters in this movie says that another character makes a bad joke. That doesn't make the joke funny, you morons. You are just telling us that you know the joke is bad, but you're too lazy to make it better, so you pretend to know the joke is bad. That doesn't make it better. The premise of this movie is also so random and stupid. Whose idea was it to make this movie? 3 out of 10. Jurassic World Dominion can suck my dick. It's awful and I have absolutely nothing good to say about it. I always try to say at least one nice thing about everything I review, but the best I could come up with is the visuals sometimes look nice. That's the only thing. Literally the only thing. This movie completely butchers the message of the first movie. Remember the profound message of Jurassic Park? Why we shouldn't interfere with nature? Yeah, well fuck that, because this movie decides to completely destroy that message by saying, oh, the dinosaurs are part of our world now, and we'll just have to live with it. No, just no. The whole point of the first movie was to tell us that dinosaurs and people can't live together because that's not what nature wants. This movie has no respect for Jurassic Park, and this movie should not have been made. The performances are really bad, and every actor has at least one terrible line delivery. The action has no tension, and the dinosaurs don't feel like dinosaurs at all. The art direction is fine, but they aren't the unpredictable monsters from the first movie. They're just CGI mustache-twirling villains. Oh, speaking of villains, this movie sure has one. Does the movie have a good one? No. The script is all over the place, and it's so convoluted and complicated for no reason that my brain wants to explode. I was going to give this movie a 1 out of 10, but I only give things a score lower than a 2 if they actively make me mad. And it didn't, because I don't really care about the Jurassic universe. So 2 out of 10. Let's talk about an actual movie now. Wow. Just wow. 2001 A Space Odyssey is a movie unlike anything I've ever seen. This is the first movie that has left me completely speechless. I really don't know what to say. The first part is just genius. The movie gives you so much to think about, and you kind of forget that you're watching monkeys living their lives. I've never seen world building done as well as in the second part of this movie. Visuals and musical storytelling are used to their fullest potential here. The third part was also incredible. Hel is an amazing twist villain, because the movie uses him to ask the audience very complex questions, in very interesting ways. And the last part is perfect in every way. I love it when a film is made just for interpretation. When a movie tells you something, it just stops when it's over. But when a movie asks you something, it will never stop, because you will keep thinking about it forever. This movie gave me so much to think about, and I will never forget that. I don't love the music, because there was not enough. And I don't love how slow the movie is, but it's still a masterpiece. 9 out of 10. Yeah, I also watched Sea Beast. It's fine. I have almost nothing to say about this movie. It has cool animation, and I like the arc of the two main characters, but the movie just does what worked in other far superior movies, and it's really not creative. Every trope in this movie has been done better by other superior movies. And the movie also has a lot of unnecessary side characters and side plots. I do like the storytelling through the color red. I wanna make a video about that. This movie uses that color in an amazing way. But the rest of the movie isn't that amazing. It's not bad, but it's not great either. 6.5 out of 10. It's okay. Oh yeah, I also rewatched Batman Begins. It's really good. So Batman Begins is the first movie of Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy. And I think it was very important to get this first one right. If Nolan had failed to deliver on this first film, then I don't think The Dark Knight would have ever existed. Nolan could have lost everything if this movie sucked. But Nolan also realized that, so he just made a great movie instead. The best part of this movie is its direction. Nolan does an amazing job showing us this world that feels ripped straight out of the comics. I think this movie has my favorite version of Gotham City. I love how the colors and cinematography bring the city to life. And I adore how the train represents the state Gotham is in. It's really small details like that really elevate this movie's Gotham to the next level. I also really like the opening because it perfectly establishes Bruce Wayne. His goals, motivations, and struggles are clear, and I think he's a great protagonist. I also think Qui-Gon is a good villain. He's a pretty good foil to Bruce, he's a menacing threat, he has an interesting counter-ideology, he just has it all. I also think this movie is paced better than the two other Nolan Batman films. There are, however, some things I really don't like about this movie. I really don't like Scarecrow. I get that they had to explain how Ra's al Ghul got the gas, but I don't get why the movie spent so much time on this guy. Qui-Gon was a great villain. Why would you make another one that is less interesting in every way? Also, if this whole character's purpose is to set up the gas that Ra's al Ghul uses to almost destroy Gotham, then why don't Ra's al Ghul and Scarecrow interact in the movie? It doesn't make any goddamn sense. Oh, also the score is really unmemorable and adds nothing to the story. 8 out of 10. Good movie. Now it's time for the great one. Damn it, I forgot how good The Dark Knight was. It's easily the best Nolan Batman film. A lot of people say this movie is the best superhero movie ever made. And I can definitely see why. The opening is incredible. The heist sequence perfectly sets up who the Joker is and how he does things. The bit after that does a great job showing us the current status quo. And the Scarecrow has less screen time, so that's great. I think this movie's greatest strength is its characters. Every character has a purpose, while also feeling like an actual human being. The Joker is the perfect Batman villain. He just is. He's really well acted, his motivations are so damn unique. I absolutely love that he just wanted to prove that everyone was like him. That tells us so much about him. I also love how he executes his plan. Harvey was Gotham's golden boy, so it makes total sense that the Joker tries to use him to prove his point. I really like the dog analogy because it's used in so many different ways. My favorite moment in the entire movie was when Bruce chooses to save Rachel instead of Dent. It shows us that there is a small part of Bruce that wants a normal life with her. But then it turns out the Joker switched the addresses, so that Bruce still loses. I also adore the scene where Bruce decides not to run the Joker over. It shows a deep understanding of Batman, because he would never kill anyone. So I love how the Joker's ideology feels like a natural progression of the previous villain. And in the end, Joker kinda wins. I do have some problems with the movie. I think it suffers a little bit from ending fatigue. Gordon's fake out death was really unnecessary, and the score is also pretty weak. But it's still a fantastic movie. Is it better than the Batman? I don't know, man. 9 out of 10. The next film was directed by Christopher Nolan and has Tom Hardy in it. Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays the main character's right hand, and Hans Zimmer made the score of the movie. The movie I am of course talking about is Inception. I really like Inception. It's overrated as fuck, but I still really like it. I think Inception's greatest strength is how it uses its concept. I've already talked about this in my Baby Driver video, but this movie does a great job at being memorable through its concept. You can't think about this movie without thinking about the plot, because the concept is such a big part of the plot. I also think the concept is really well executed, and it's well set up, so the movie is not constantly making you confused. Unlike one other Nolan film, the score of this movie also just slaps. It doesn't really add anything to the story, but damn, it sounds fucking amazing, and it does a great job enhancing the emotions the movie is trying to make you feel. I also love Cobb's arc. That final shot with the spinny thing, oh my god, it's so powerful to see him accept that he wants to stay in this world, regardless if it's the real one or not, after doubting reality for the entire movie. The action is also really well done. Every action sequence feels unique and energetic, and it's kinda impossible to get bored while watching this movie. So it sounds like I love this movie, right? No I don't. Most of the characters in this movie suck giant ass. Ariadne is only in the movie to ask questions so that other characters can explain things to her. At least 60% of her dialogue is some dumb question to explain things to the audience. Arthur is also fucking garbage. He's only there to explain things to the viewer, and he has less personality than a loaf of bread. On top of that, this movie also has some characters that are just blank slates. The chemist and Tom Hardy feel so underused. And like I said, they're just blank slates. You only need Cobb, Saito, Fisher, and maybe Mal for this story to work. But this movie just keeps throwing useless characters at us for no reason. I still really enjoyed the movie. I just think it could have been so much better without these guys. 7.5 out of 10. Why did I watch this movie? I really forgot. Why the fuck did I watch this thing? I'm never watching Tenet again. It's awful. This was the last Nolan movie I watched this summer, and I would have probably watched more than 4 if this movie didn't exist. But it does, so yay! Tenet highlights every problem I have with Nolan, and it made me stop watching Nolan films. The concept is fine on paper, but it's executed so poorly that I think anyone could do it better. This movie also has an annoying character that keeps asking random questions so that things can be explained to the audience. But this time, it's the protagonist. This guy is so unmemorable and bad that when you type in Tenet cast and you look at the actor, Google just says he plays protagonist. Even Google can't remember his name. That's how unmemorable he is. Protagonist doesn't show any emotion for the entire movie. At one point, someone tells him that it's possible to reverse the way an object moves, and his reaction is the most basic facial expression ever. Bro, someone just told you that you can basically go back in time, and this is your reaction? Every single side character feels more lifeless than a chair, and the stakes are so unclear that it's really hard to care or to get invested. The score was also so forgettable. The exposition and dialogue feels like it was written by a robot, and I forgot everything about this movie before it was even over. I guess the action was cool sometimes, and the CGI looked good. Don't watch this movie if you like good movies. 3 out of 10. Okay guys, I've been recording for 45 minutes now, so I'm gonna take a break. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Okay guys, I'm back. Marriage Story is another movie I watched this summer, and it was pretty good. This movie was nominated for like 1 million Oscars, and I can definitely see why. It's about Kylo Ren facing off against Black Widow in this epic action thriller. But the question is, who will win? Okay, no, it's just a really good drama. It's one of those movies where both sides of the conflict are shown to us, so the audience is never sure who to root for, because the movie itself doesn't pick a side. And this is one of the movie's greatest strengths and its greatest weakness. I think the argument scene and everything leading up to it is nearly perfect. It works really well, because you feel the tension every time Nicole and Charlie are on the screen together. I think this is Adam Driver's best performance by far. He really brings Charlie to life, and it feels like he could lose his shit at any moment, while still being very calm. It's incredible. Scarlett Johansson also does a good job. She feels really human and sympathetic, and evil at the same time. I don't know how it's possible, but it's the best way I can explain her performance in this movie. The movie works as well as it does, because it never picks a side, and it never tells you who's right. That's for you to decide. Until we finally get to that incredible argument scene. I think the scene works because it's a perfect metaphor for the conflict as a whole. They both start out very calm, but they take it further and further without realizing it. But after the scene, everything kinda goes to shit. I hate this ending so much. It's insane. The movie worked really well up to this point because it didn't pick a side. But now, after the conflict is over, the movie suddenly decides that Charlie was the big bad after all. I agree that Charlie needed to learn that he should let people be themselves, and I'm happy that he gets called out for it. He learns his lesson in the end, and he's a better person now. Great. But the movie refuses to call Nicole out. She took the case way too far, and she tried to get full custody over her son, so that Charlie would never see him again. And what does the movie do to her? It rewards her for it. She wins the case. Turns out she's better than Charlie at his own job, and she just leaves Charlie. The movie just picks her side at the end of the movie, and she learns nothing because the movie refuses to call her out for the terrible shit that she's done. Why? Why? You were this close to a perfect movie. But no, you just had to completely ruin it by having a dogshit ending. 7.5 out of 10. Just stop watching after the argument and you're good. Out of all of the things on this list, Infinity Train is the thing that stood out to me the most. I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I could not get this show out of my head, no matter how hard I tried. And it has quickly become one of my favorite animated shows ever created. It uses the fact that it's an anthology series to its fullest potential. And it really feels like there is so much thought and effort behind every frame. Everything I just said applies to the first 3 seasons. The 4th one can fuck off. Let's quickly go over every season. Season 1 is a great beginning for the show. It has the best mystery out of all of the seasons, because of its world building. The writers do an excellent job at making the mystery part of the world, so that we learn more and more about this world as we unravel the well-written mystery. Tulip is a great protagonist, because she's as intrigued by this world as we are. Her arc throughout the season is amazing, because we are with her every step of the way. Tulip coming to terms with the divorce of her parents, the past, and herself is truly inspiring, and Amelia is a great antagonist for the show. She's a really menacing and mysterious threat for the first couple of episodes, and then she becomes pretty compelling in the last ones. Her backstory is really well handled, and she's my second favorite villain of the show, because she's such a perfect foil to Tulip. Tulip has to learn to let go of the past, and she's able to do that, because she saw what happens when someone is unable to do that. She doesn't want to become Amelia, so she has to learn to let go. She has to let the past die. 1-1 is also just amazing. He's funny, I really like his voice acting. He has like 2 personalities, which is executed very well. He perfectly fits into this world, while also being a part of the mystery. Oh yeah, the dog exists. He's fine. He's mainly there for comic relief, and he's pretty funny, but he has almost nothing to do for the entire season, and he can feel a bit one-dimensional sometimes. I also kinda hate the cat. She's really bland, and season 3 is the only season where she actually feels like a character. My biggest problem with the show is the dialogue. Sometimes the characters will just say things that are really obvious, and the characters will sometimes repeat sentences just to make things clearer to the audience, and it feels really weird. But overall, an amazing start for this show. 8.5 out of 10. Infinity Train Season 2 is one of the best seasons of television I have ever seen. It is absolutely incredible. So every season of Infinity Train has a different protagonist that is set up in the previous season. Most of the time. I really liked the season 1 episode where we got to know Lake, who is this season's protagonist. Season 1 did a great job at getting us interested in Lake, and we finally get to see some more of her this season. I think Lake is no joke one of the best protagonists in anything. Seeing her fight to make her own choices is inspiring and really compelling, because the theme of identity is so well handled. The philosophy of every character this season has something to do with identity or making your own choices. From pretty important characters like Grace, who thinks gnolls don't have the right to make their own choices, to really minor characters like the Parasite, who tries to take Alan Dracula's free will away. This season's themes just work so well because of the characters. And seeing Lake finally acknowledge that being a reflection is part of her by naming herself Lake, because a lake also has reflections in it. Oh my god. I also adore Jesse, not just because we have the same name. No, I really like his struggle to find the courage to do what he wants instead of what the group wants him to do. The Apex was a great addition, because it was great setup for next season, and it also perfectly ended Jesse's arc, which was also tied in to the themes of the season. And Alan Dracula, holy shit, he's the best thing that ever happened and our Lord and Savior. I think I'm gonna start a cult to worship this perfect creature. He's random as fuck, cute as hell, he perfectly fits into this movie's themes by always doing things he wants in his own way instead of listening to everyone else, because he makes his own choices. And on top of that, his mystical powers are never used to resolve conflict, unless they were set up. A common pitfall of writing a character with unexplained powers is that the powers are used to resolve conflict because they can just do anything. But the writers of this show know that, so every time they want to use Alan Dracula to resolve conflict, they make sure to set up his powers first. This season is not perfect. The world building is not very good. The writers try to expand the mirror world, but it doesn't really work, because the mirror cops are pretty uninteresting, and the dialogue is still not great. But who the fuck cares, man? 9 out of 10. Alan Dracula is a god. I'm going to be honest with you all. Season 3 is worse than I expected. Don't get me wrong, it's still great, and I would say that it's the second best season of the show. But I was just expecting so much more. Like, the Infinity Train community is talking about this season like it's the Citizen Kane of animation. But like, every single aspect of this season is done better in season 2, except for one. The first few episodes feel really weird, because the season can't decide if it wants to be a plot-driven season like season 1, or a slice of life story like season 2. Grace is a pretty good protagonist, but when the two previous ones were perfect parallel to the audience because we are as confused as she is, and most compelling character since Zuko, pretty good is just not enough. I did really like the second half of the season. Tuba's death was handled in a really good way. The treetop scene was incredible. Hazel's speech is genuinely sad, and seeing Grace realize that her entire way of thinking is fundamentally wrong is so hard to watch, yet so incredibly well done. And the bird analogy, oh my god, easily the best scene of the entire show. Hazel is just such an amazing character, and the scene where she leaves Grace is genuinely heartbreaking. The show forces us to bond with her, and then it just takes her away, because that's what Grace deserved. Like, holy shit, man, Hazel is an incredible character because of how her personality and the mystery surrounding her is used. But Hazel is not the best character of the show. Oh no. That title goes to this motherfucker. I'm just gonna say it. Simon is the best written character of the show, and it's not even close. Lake is incredible, but she's nothing compared to this man. Simon feels like the main character of his own story. He doesn't understand the train, but there is one thing he does understand. Don't trust anyone. The main themes of this season are trust and lying, and I think they're handled pretty well. Simon's philosophy is so interesting because he makes these themes even stronger. His backstory is compelling, and it shows us why he thinks that no one can be trusted. He can't let go of the past, and his philosophy has a lot in common with Amelia's, which is why it was so genius to bring her back. But the coolest thing about Simon is that he's kinda right about Grace. She was the only one Simon trusted, even though he knew she couldn't be trusted, because she lied to Hazel all the time. Grace is the biggest liar of them all. I have so much more to say about this season and this show as a whole, but this video is getting real long, so I'll give this season its own video, I promise. 8.5 out of 10. Season 4 was unnecessary and stupid. With that said, I don't have that much to say about it. It's not connected to the previous seasons and to this world. The season also has the worst protagonists. Having two people with the same number is really not as cool or interesting as it sounds. I like their unique personalities, but their arcs were really basic. The fucking bell is also so annoying. I wanted to die. I can't remember a single name of a character of the season. And I watched it 2 days before I wrote this. The season also doesn't have an antagonist, and that doesn't work for the show, sorry. There is still some stuff to enjoy here. The art gallery car is a top 5 episode, because the attention to detail with the shadows shows us that a lot of the stuff the two friends say to each other were not things the shadows made them say. But this really feels like a gas leak season. 4 out of 10. So that's Infinity Train. It's good and you should check it out. I'm not gonna give the show as a whole a score, because it's an anthology show, but it's really good. I also watched Stranger Things, because everyone didn't want to shut up about it. It's fine. Season 1 was good. Not great, just good. I really liked the mystery surrounding the Upside Down. It was really well handled because it connected everyone, and we got to unravel the mystery on our own by seeing all of these characters' perspectives. Every character has a purpose, and they all have things to do. I think Mike is a great protagonist because of his relationship to all of the other characters. I also really liked Lucas in season 1, because he showed us that everyone deals with loss in their own way. Dustin felt a little out of place because the season takes itself pretty seriously, so it's weird to see a character like Dustin playing such a central role. But his serious moments hit even harder because of that. I think Nancy is so well written in season 1, oh my god. This is a rare example of a love triangle done right. I usually hate it, but this show pulls it off extremely well. The show makes it clear that Nancy doesn't belong with the popular kids. Barb tries to tell her that it's not a good idea to stay with Steve, but she ignores her. So she gets repercussions for it. I love how they give Nancy what she deserves by making her feel bad because Barb had to pay the price of her actions. Steve is the most consistent character in the show by far, and this season gave him a great introduction. I'm not that interested in Jonathan, because he kinda feels like a worse version of Joyce this season, but he's not bad. This is also Hopper's best season by far. He has a heartbreaking backstory that is shown to us in such a unique way, and he feels like the protagonist of his own story. I was really interested in Joyce's character, because it had such a dark tone. Winona Ryder does a great job portraying this broken woman, and she made us care about Will because we cared about her. But the best character by far is Eleven. Elle works really well, because it feels like she's the key to everything, while also having a strong arc. She is incredibly important for this story, but she doesn't feel like a plot device. She feels like a human being. Her arc is great, and I really enjoyed her relationship with Mike and her interactions with all of the other characters. My biggest problem with the season, and with Stranger Things as a whole, is the enormous amount of plot conveniences and inconveniences. Wow, how convenient that Will only uses the lights when Joyce is in the house, so that no one believes her. Wow, how convenient that Eleven tells the group the exact amount of information necessary to keep the plot going. Wow, how convenient that Mike forgot that jumping in the lake is going to kill him, which is something that he knew because everyone believed it killed Will. You get what I mean? 7 out of 10. Pretty neat. Season 2 is kinda bad. I heard it was not good online, and yeah, I agree. This season tried way too hard to be more of season 1, and it failed in a number of ways. First of all, the plotlines are not connected at all. Elle's plotline could have been in any season, and almost nothing would change, because it has nothing to do with the rest of the season and with the Mind Flayer. But in the end, the show expects us to be happy and satisfied when Elle closes the gate and dances with Mike, even though Mike and Elle only interact in 2 episodes in the entire season, and Elle had nothing to do with the gate at all. Nancy and Jonathan are barely in this season, and their storyline is stupid as hell. I hate it when characters make correct observations about other characters they don't know as a joke. I hated that in that one BoJack Horseman season 6 episode, and I hate it here with Murray. Oh, and don't get me started on Max. Season 2 Max is one of the worst written characters I have ever seen. The show lays a lot of groundwork for her character by making her a skater and a gamer and a thing with Billy, but then the show just doesn't use those things at all. Like, Dustin and Lucas aren't attracted to her because she skates. No, they're attracted to her just because she's a girl. The show literally did the hard part by setting her character up, but it failed at the easy part. How is that even possible? Oh, also, Hopper is a total asshole this season. I get what they were trying to do. He wanted to do everything to make Elle his daughter, so he didn't want her to leave, blah blah blah. But it feels really wrong and abusive. I did enjoy the lab and tunnel storylines. We'll get some development, and the Mind Flayer has a really cool design. I also kinda liked the Elle episode. Elle's arc this season is really mediocre, but her episode is easily the best directed episode of the entire show. And I liked how the world kept telling Eleven, no, this isn't your home. And seeing her come to the realization that home doesn't mean family was really cliché, but also cool. Oh yeah, 8 sucks ass, never mind, this episode was terrible. 3.5 out of 10. Season 3 was weird. It had some stuff I really like, but it also has some bullshit. I'll start off positive. I really like Robin. She has great chemistry with Steve and Dustin. And while I don't really like that the show has become way more lighthearted, the jokes this season are great. For the most part, but we'll get to that. The scene where we find out that she's gay is my favorite scene of the entire season, because it has some great subtle build-up, and it didn't feel like it came out of nowhere. I really adore the Mind Flayer's design. The blood and flesh looks horrific, and it's a way more menacing villain than slightly darker than normal Cloud. The Mind Flayer's team is also such a cool concept. All of these voices represent the people who are now part of the Mind Flayer. And when the Mind Flayer finally dies, we get to hear all of the voices separately, to remind us that those once were actually people. But like, that's where my praise ends. Hopper is even more of an asshole this season, and the things he does to keep Mike from seeing Elle are just insane. The 2 plotlines are not connected properly, and Hopper's death is fucking stupid. Which is weird, because I am a fan of Hopper dying. I think it would be great to see Hopper sacrifice himself to save Elle, so that he can finally do what he couldn't do last time, saving his daughter. But no, the 2 plotlines are connected really poorly, which makes his death feel pointless, because it doesn't feel like he's doing it for Elle. Oh wait, he doesn't even die. It's even more pointless now. My biggest problem with this season by far is Erica. I'm just gonna say it, Erica is the worst character in fiction, and it's not even close. Rose's role in The Last Jedi was insulting, and Tenet's protagonist had less personality than a dishwasher. But they are nothing compared to the awfulness of this creature. Every word that comes out of Erica's mouth is annoying as fuck. The fact that she's plot relevant makes me mad, and the actress who plays her is doing a terrible job. This plotline already had Dustin and 2 drunk people. What's the point of having another comic relief character? Oh, also, she's not funny at all. Pretty bad season, 4.5 out of 10. The first thing I'm gonna do when I'm leader of the Ellen Dracula cult is order my followers to hunt down Erica until there is nothing left to hunt. Season 4 is surprisingly good, I'm impressed. First of all, this season is shot incredibly well. The show in general has really solid cinematography. And every Dutch angle is used in the correct way, which is really hard to do for most movies apparently. I love how the camera is used to tell the story here. For example, when the gang finds the place where Vecna is hiding in the Upside Down, the camera goes from a normal angle to a Dutch angle to show that something is wrong, to a transition to the Upside Down, to another Dutch angle to show us what's wrong, to a normal shot of Vecna. I love stuff like that. Also, Max is suddenly the best character now. Wait, what? When did this happen? Season 4 Max is incredible. She has so many layers and we're never sure if she's telling the truth because of the barriers she put up. She's also the perfect victim of Vecna's curse because we learn so much about her through everything Vecna says about her. And the running up that hill scene, oh my god. Max has to deal with a lot of dark obstacles, but she keeps running. She keeps living because of her friends. This scene is a perfect metaphor for her life. Oh my god, and that ending, just wow. The season is also great for world building. And they finally made Lucas an interesting character again. Took you guys long enough. But sadly, this season also has a lot holding it back. 11's subplot, it takes way too long. And the Russia plotline is honestly garbage. Every new character introduced in that plotline is boring and one-dimensional. And it's clear that they just used Joyce and Murray because they had no idea what to do with them. But overall, it's a good season. 7.5 out of 10. Stranger Things was definitely the worst show I watched this summer, but it's still not bad. So I'm gonna be nice and give it a 6 out of 10. There are also some things I watched that I didn't write segments for a number of reasons. So I figured I would just talk about them here in this segment. I didn't write anything for Mad Max Fury Road because I have almost nothing to say about it. It's a well-made film that looks amazing, but the story didn't work for me. The movie expects us to care about these women, but it does nothing to make us care. The villain is one-dimensional, and Tom Hardy does a pretty bad job. If this movie worked for you, then that's great, but it didn't work for me. 4 out of 10. I also watched the Call of the Wild remake, and I really enjoyed it, but I haven't seen the original, so I have no idea if it's a good adaptation or not. So therefore I didn't write something for it, and I'm also not gonna give it a rating. I watched Ocean's 12, because a friend of mine wanted to watch it, and it was really bad. But we didn't even finish it, and I have never seen Ocean's 11, so I don't think it's fair for me to critique it. Bro Burnham's Inside is incredible, and it delivers really deep and thought-provoking messages through catchy music, but it doesn't have a story, so it's hard for me to critique it. I've spent a lot of time learning things about storytelling, but I don't know shit about music. So my review would just boil down to, I like how this song sounds. I don't like how this song sounds. But I love the messages and how they're delivered. I gave it 5 stars on Letterboxd, so make of that what you want, I guess. Bo Burnham's Inside Outtakes also doesn't have a story. It can decide whether it wants to be an Inside sequel or a making of, but it's still great. This one is way funnier, and it's even more creative than Inside, but the making of parts were really boring. I gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd. Make of that what you want, I guess. Oh fuck, I also read a book. I read Save the Cat, written by Blake Snyder, and I thought it was okay. It's a book about screenwriting, but most of the things I read were things I already knew. Blake also pretends the way he writes screenplays is the only right way to do it. Like, non-linear storytelling exists, but he pretends it doesn't. But sometimes he says something really smart, like Black Fat. It means that you can't use all of your ideas, because your story will become really confusing. That's something I never really thought about, because I always try to use all of my ideas when I'm writing. Also, this book is written by a human being and it's very easy to understand. I would highly recommend this to anyone who wants to write something, but has no idea where to start. But I already knew most of the things he said, so for me it's a 6 out of 10. So that's it. That's everything I watched this summer. Let me know in the comments what I should watch next summer. But just like Dipper said, summer can't last forever. Bye!